Hello viewers. Today for the first year MBA students of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, we have a talk on brand equity. To discuss about the subject and to know more details about it, today we have in our studio Mr. M. Anil Ramesh. He is an assistant professor of CBIT Management College from Hyderabad. We welcome you to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much.
So, before we get into the subject, the first question I would like to put you is, what is a brand and why this brand management is getting so much of importance?
Before getting into the subject of brand importance, I would like to define brand itself. A brand is a product or a line of products that are offered for sale by a manufacturer, marketer, and which is made easily distinguishable from the competitors by use of symbols or names. So why is it getting so much of importance? A very good question. Because the world is becoming a smaller and a smaller place. Businesses are getting narrower. It has become a global village. GATT, WTO, we have TRIPS, TRIMS, all of these are making business more and more competitive. So it is started impacting, and all companies have started realizing that brands have become very important, especially if you take the pharmaceutical industry. India was known to be a big supplier of bulk drugs, and bulk drugs usually are sold unbranded. Nowadays all the big companies have started to realize that if you want to succeed in this changing market scenario, you need to have branded items.
Okay. So you feel that with the branding is very much compulsion for nowadays?
It is more than a compulsion, it is a matter of survival.
Okay. So what are the parameters of the brand power, sir?
Okay, if once you come to the parameters of brand power, there are a lot of parameters of brand power. First of all, what we would like to see is whether the popularity of the brand has been existing over several years. See, a brand to become a popular thing, it has to exist for a long period of time. So along with that, if you take all the famous brands throughout the world, have been existing for a very long period of time, because brands become like human beings. The more they are with the customer, the more benefit we pursue out of them. And second thing is reliability of the brand. When people go, they don't buy a product, they buy a brand. Then what happens is, the most important thing is your brand vulnerable to competition? Can it take competition? What has been noticed in the Indian scenario, especially in the automobile sector, is we had strong brands. I don't want to name any of one of them, but these could not take this onslaught of the foreign brand. So that is not a strong brand. If you are a strong brand, you should be able to take the onslaught of the foreigners also. Then what are the uniqueness of the brand attributes as perceived by the customer? Does the customer perceive some unique perceptions, unique attributes? Then what can the brand deliver value for money? The brand has to deliver value for money, because every customer, most people perceive that economy brands, only people buy it for cheapness. No, even at a cheap level also, the customer actually wants value for money. And then what happens is, lot of brands, this is very, very important, they become indispensable for us. If you take a lot of talcum powders, we take a lot of personal care products, we cannot imagine a life without these products. And finally, brands finally become human beings. So you have a lot of examples like Gatu. Okay, then we have the Amul girl, then we have the Maharaja, then we have the MRF man. These have become personalities, and there is emotional bonding with the brand. And this emotional bonding is very cleverly exploited by all the advertisers, especially one automobile advertiser who actually makes it almost synonymous with patriotism if you are associated with the brand.
Okay, Mr. Anil, what is brand equity and how does this impact the performance of the company?
Okay, brand equity, according to the definition, is a set of assets and liabilities linked to a brand, its name or symbols that add or subtract from the value of the product that is offered by a company. So what we are trying to say is, brand equity it can be either positive or negative, and it is a value as perceived by the customer. See, what is happening is, from long time people have been thinking that they are marketing products, but nowadays what is happening is, brands have started becoming more personified, and people have started owning the brands. The customers actually own the brand, so it becomes a part of their life. So we have products which have almost become synonymous with their life. So when people have started owning the brands, the identification with the brands has started, and the companies have realized that brands can be traded like stocks. Okay, brands can be sold, brands can be acquired, and in this modern age of mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, strategic alliances, people have realized that it is one element of profitability that has not been exploited. Recently, one software company, in fact, has put its brand power on the balance sheet. Now companies have started realizing that if you have to survive and if you have to make success, the economic value or the profitability of the brand can be put across in the balance sheet, and you can make more money out of it.
Okay, sir. So no, just now you told about like the brand is an asset or a liability. Can you elaborate on the brand as an asset?
Okay, brand as an asset has got 5 elements in it. First of all, what type of loyalty does a customer have towards your brand? Then we have what type of awareness the customer has again about your brand. Then there are a lot of associations, like we'll come to this at a later stage. What type of associations do people have about the brand? And then people perceive quality. People usually think that all of us perceive the quality at the same level. No, each of us perceive quality at different level. Finally, proprietary assets like licenses, trademarks, and also have become very, very important for any company to exploit.
Okay. So now as far as we are talking, it is sounding quite theoretical. Could you please give us some examples about the brands that have been traded or which has been bought or sold as a stock of the company?
I think it's a very good question, because most students think that brand equity is a theoretical subject and people don't get any exploitation. You would be very amazed when Coca-Cola came into India. They actually bought Thumbs Up company at 80 crores. Okay. 80 crores was the amount that was spent just for the brand. And recently we had Godrej company which has bought Transelectra, which is a company that is a mosquito repellent. And in last year there was sensation when IndiaInfoline.com was bought over by Satyam Computers at a whooping price of 500 crores. So this is no longer theory. You can make money out of selling and buying of brands. Yeah. And especially in a company, in a sale like IndiaInfoline.com, there are no hard assets. Everything is only brand, and for a brand Satyam paid 500 crores.
Okay. So like you can tell about the common things about the successful brands, like what is the most common thing about the brands which have been successful right now?
Very good. So what makes a brand very successful is, after some time the brand has to become generic to the product itself. What I mean by generic is, whenever we say plain paper copier, we don't say plain paper copier, we say Xerox. Whenever we want Vanaspati, we don't say Vanaspati, we say Dalda. Whenever we want a chocolate, most probably we'll say Cadbury. So when the brand becomes generic, you're almost there. But there is a problem here. Once the product becomes generic, there is another problem also. Let us go back to the first example. Let us take Xerox again. When you want plain paper copy, you are saying Xerox, but it is alright. But what is happening is, when other companies also start exploiting, you find when you go in all our cities and in villages, you find Xerox shop. So even when other companies are also exploiting, it becomes a big problem for the Xerox company. And the second thing is, good brand companies or good companies innovate always. Let us take an example of Intel. Intel started out with maybe 32 MB RAM and maybe with 2.1 GB hard disk. Now it is around 128 MB RAM and with 20 MB hard disk. So what is happening is, by the time the competitors are able to catch on to you, Intel is progressing ahead and ahead. We can take the example of Gillette company. By the time people had started using the safety razors, Gillette went into these disposables. By the time people went into disposables, they went into Mac 1. By the time people got into Mac 1, they went into Mac 2. And by the time people got into Mac 2, they're Mac 3. So they innovate at a level which the competitors cannot catch up. And this makes the customers happy. Because what makes the customer happy is, if you get a better price at the same price also, the customer is always happy. And the second thing is, good companies never change that basic concept. If you take a company like Lifebuoy, it has been Tandoori Stika soap always, and it will remain. Even if you take an example like Nirma, the ad jingle remains the same. So the jingle has been held by, it is heard by me, it is heard by you, it has been heard by everybody. So the continuity is maintained. And most brands do a lot of pioneering work. What I mean by pioneering work is, they're always trying to invent new things. If you take a company like Sony, they're always inventing new things. They have come up with Walkman, then they come up with a camera which does not need a reel at all. So good brands, the customers expect them to offer something new always. See, what happens is, most of us get into a sort of a complex where we think that our product is alright, let us continue with the product. But then what happens is, this type of inward looking things actually means that a competitor can exploit. A big detergent company let the door open for Nirma to enter. So we had a lot of those leaking water buckets, and finally it led that Syntex could enter into it. So once you leave something open, the people will enter. And a big company will never get complacent. All big brands especially are into a concept called CRM, customer relationship management, where they are always trying to explore what are the elements of dissatisfaction, so that the brand is always at the top of the mind. We would be discussing top of the mind. What we are basically trying to say is, our marketplace is cluttered with products. you will have maybe 100 motorcycle manufacturers, we have 150 scooter manufacturers, we have 50 talcum manufacturers, we have 20 lipstick manufacturers. So on all this clutter, your brand has to stand up. If your brand has to stand up, it has to be in the top of the mind.
So what are the different approaches to brand valuation?
So it is more of an art than a science, because except the exact thing of brand equity itself is so new that the various approaches, nobody could really come to any correct way, but there are 5 approaches which I would like to say. The first thing is price premium. So what we do in a price premium is, every year we would take the total sale of a product. Let's say the sale of a product is, let's say, 2,50,000, and the premium or the price that we pay extra for a product is 5 rupees. We would calculate 2,50,000 into 5 rupees. So
Okay.
the brand equity is 12,50,000. This is, even though it is not a very nice way of calculating brand equity, it's a ready reckoner. The second thing is, we try to see how much of a impact of a brand does it have on a customer, because it has been assumed that foreign companies usually have lot of more impact. So it has been noticed that American brands have less impact and Japanese brands have more impact. So what we would say is, we would take all the domestic brands turnover and add a percentage and come to a level of valuation of the brand equity. Third thing is, which is much more simpler and which is understood by all manufacturers, is we would take the total network of the company. Let us take, we are taking a network of a soap seller, his entire distribution, the cost of replacement. Suppose we have to replace Godrej, or let us take a company like HLL. How much will it cost to replace the entire distribution system will be taken into consideration, and that money will have to be paid as brand equity. That is what finally 80 crores was what was paid to Parle or to Thumbs Up. Was entire 80 crores was what was felt that is the amount that has to be placed to replace Thumbs Up in the marketplace. And finally, the lot which is very popular in the US and which is becoming very, very popular in India is a stock price index. What do you mean by a stock price index? Is the stock price of any scrip or a share will be taken over the last 1 year. It would be averaged out, and that price we would calculate and we would find out the brand equity of a particular company. And finally, what we do is, in fact, companies, in fact, lot of analysts are now saying that Thumbs Up sold out at a very low price. See what Thumbs Up sold out, when Thumbs Up sold out in maybe 92, 93, whenever it happened, 80 crores was a good amount, but it is not a good amount now. To take over such a problem, we have earning power of a brand. What we do mean by earning power of a brand is, the company is not going to calculate today's sale. It is going to calculate 2000 or 2005, and that is what India Infoline finally did. It was, in fact, when it got sold out, its turnover was maybe only 2.1 crores. It went for 500 crores because it said the earning power of my brand over the years is going to increase. I think the stock price and earning power of the brand are the best way of brand valuation. Brand valuation is in fact very, very difficult. It depends on the negotiating team, who wants to buy, who wants to sell, at what price these are traded like stocks.
Mr. Anil, we have heard on many occasions about the brand loyalty. Does this brand loyalty has any bearing on the brand equity?
In fact, it bears a very big importance, because brand loyalty has been so very loosely nowadays that a lot of people actually lost a track of what it means. What brand loyalty means, it's a predisposition of the customer to buy the same brand again and again. Most manufacturers think just because the customer is buying my product again and again, he has become brand loyal. It could be the worst case of a disaster. What is happening is, let's say I buy a particular brand of soap. I could be buying it because of 3 reasons. Because that particular brand that I buy is most conveniently available at the nearest retail store. Second thing is, the brand that I want to buy is not available. And third thing is, could be many other reasons. First of all, if I want to be called it as brand loyal, the test I would put to my customers is, if I don't have that particular bar of soap that I want in that particular shop, will I buy an alternate brand, or will I walk 1 kilometer to buy my old brand? If the customer is willing to walk that extra mile to my buy brand, then I would call him brand loyal. Because brand loyalty has become so very fickle nowadays that with the influx of lot of promotion, with the influx of lot of sales promotion, what is happening is the customers are shifting. That is not a very happy state of affairs. In spite of all this, we need committed buyers. If you don't have committed buyers, your brand equity is less. If you have committed brand buyers, it means your brand equity is high. The direct relationship, what we are talking about, brand loyalty and brand equity is like this. If there is high brand loyalty, it automatically translates to high brand equity. If there is low brand loyalty, that means low brand equity.
Okay. So if brand loyalty is so important, how do we measure it?
It's very difficult to measure brand equity, but we have some methods of measurement. The first measurement is very nicely called as the observational method. Just now we were discussing that will the customer go for an extra mile. So what the companies do is they actually train, or they actually have people who are visiting the retail shops and they go and actually observe. So when customer comes and asks for a particular bath soap, easy taking the alternate soap or easy walking the extra mile to get that additional soap. And let us say, even what are the tested is, even if the person is buying an alternate soap, when this original choice is made available, will he go in for the earlier choice or is he going to stay with the new choice? So that is called observational method, which is not a it is a very difficult method. The second thing is, what the companies like to do is, the brand loyalty is a very funny sort of a measurement. So what they would do is, what are the economic barriers to brand loyalties? Usually people buy products on a very rational level. Let us take a buyer of computer systems. What happens is, he might have bought, let's say, a system from Intel. Somebody else is offering something new, let's say AMD or a new company. He doesn't like to shift, because what happens is, he would like to remain with the Intel system, because the compatibility between Intel and AMD does not exist. So the companies would like to break that by introducing a new concept of replacement. What it has been popular as even in the TVs, where they take back your old TV and give you a new TV, because we tend to stick up, we are more brand loyal. That TV is alright, it has been working. In fact, you can take my case. I've been having a brand of TV for the last 14 years. So that brand loyalty has to be broken before a new product is introduced. Actually, all replacements are a loss for companies, but they are ready to bear that loss, because that's the only way they can enter into my house. So they have to introduce their product, and that is how they introduce. So there the brand loyalty get lost. We have a lot of such examples. We have examples from electronic typewriters, because again the customers were very satisfied with manual typewriters. So that at that level in 91, 92, that company called Network, which was introducing electronic typewriters, introduced the same concept of breaking away brand loyalty by introducing a new concept. So what they did is, they took back the old ones and gave the new ones. And the third way of measurement is what is being done by a lot of companies, by they do consumer satisfaction surveys. So most people think that okay or just satisfied is good. But in CRM, in customer relationship management, we say that customer should be delighted. So any ranking less than delight means the danger signal is up. That means brand loyalty is not to the level that you expect. Brand loyalty should be at the ultimate level. If even it is dipping less than 90, that means there can be an attack from the side, and once the attack is on, your customers will just fly away.
Okay, sir. You were mentioning about brand awareness. Like, how is it important for the marketer? Like, how this high brand awareness has benefited to him?
Okay, what is brand awareness? It's a continuous range of emotions, from a feeling of uncertainty to just recognition of a brand, to a confidence that that brand is the only thing available in the product. And let me give an example. Suppose, let us say I am going to a shop. Okay, what would happen is, let's say my son has asked for a Cadbury, let's say he has asked for a chocolate. Okay. What happens is, when I go and ask, he will say, "Kaun sa chocolate chahiye sab?" Immediately I say Cadbury. That's the best that any company can hope. That is called top of the mind. Top of the mind is, even without thinking, I never thought of a chocolate. I only thought about chocolate. I only thought about a Cadbury. That's the best. So, but if that is not available, let's say he says, "Sir, Cadbury is not available. What do you want to have?" Then I might have number 2 alternative, number 3 alternative, number 4 alternative. That is called unaided recall. The shopkeeper is not giving me any aid. I could recall 3, 4 and 5. Okay, or 2, 3, 4 brands. That is all it. But what happens is, in a market cluttered with products, there are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so one top of the mind I could identify immediately, even without he telling. When he said that was not available, I could identify 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe if he shows me some products, I can identify till 11. Okay, from 11 my mind does not accept. There is something very peculiar here. Most of us are getting cluttered with so many messages that the mind is simply not able to remember. So in any given category, we can only remember 6 names. So all the fight in the marketplace is to be in the top 6. If you are not in the top 6, no amount of promotion, no amount of advertisements will let you survive. So brand awareness is very, very important. Are you identified at the top of the mind? Are you being at least identified as a unaided recall? Or at least people, when you show them some pictures, are they able to identify a product? If you are not in the top 6, you are finished.
We have just talked about, like earlier, there are many brands into the market and all. There is big confusion about which brand about which and all. So what do you think, whether it is better, whether the company should follow a brand extension or it should go for the new brand?
Good question. See, there are no hard and fast rules about whether to extend a brand or to go in for a new brand. What I would say is, if you are extending the brand, if the newly added brand, if it can add value to the existing brand and to a new brand, it's all right. I'll take an example of, let's say, Pond's Dream Flower or talcum powder. Pond's cold cream is alright, it is adding, but Pond's toothpaste will not look very nice. So if you are able to add as it is, because if it is adding any value, but Pond's toothpaste, I'm sorry, it won't do. So if you have something like that, make it into a new brand.
And it has been like a brand, they have been associated and all. Can you please tell us more details about the brand associations and all?
Yeah, this is a research, this is a subject which a lot of marketing people are now looking into it, because this is psychology. What is brand association is anything that is linked with the memory of the brand. See, especially when we go to supermarkets, we have some sort of memories. Food Friends and Thumbs Up is associated with one particular brand. Okay, life of a new generation. In fact, this new generation has been targeted by some youngsters. What are the benefits of this? What do you say? Brand association is, it gives more product information. Then it gives it makes customers reach a decision faster. In fact, one of the companies says, just do it now. Okay, it shows that you have to make a decision very fast. Then what type of association is, people feel happy, people feel sad. In fact, we were telling about this example of this automobile manufacturer, which he tries to, the association with the brand is of nostalgia. Okay, whenever you ride my automobile, you should be proud that you are an Indian or sort of that. And then it also says about a particular attitude. Okay, so students want, if you see, students always wear jeans. That is a brand of an attitude. Okay, so they don't want to wear formal. So when they wear jeans, the association is freedom. So they don't want to wear regular black shoes. They want to wear Keds, and the Keds should not be washed. So the association with let's say all this so-called casual clothing is of attitude. And finally, what you're just now saying, if you have good association, you can go in for a line extension. If you have lot of the shoe manufacturers, they go in for line extension, where the association of the brand is about adventure or freedom. So brand association or what is something that people are trying to nurture nowadays. Amul has got a brand association where it tries to say something funny every day in the morning. They associate themselves with all the events. So whenever there is a major event, Amul comes out with an advertisement.
What are the different types of brand associations?
Okay, brand associations are made in different types. First of all, we have country specific associations. If you take Basmati rice, it is associated very strongly with India. If you take best safety cars, they are associated with Germany. If you take precision tools, they are associated with again with Germany. So very specifically, some brands get associated with the countries. Then we have product specific associates, like whenever we say turmeric products, we associate it with Vico. So then we have intangibles. Okay, intangibles is one company, I think it is Pizza or one of these companies says 39 minutes delivery. So we associate speed with that particular company. So the association of speed is with that particular pizza company. Then we have some customer specific associations, like Xerox company says that whenever you have a problem, you please come and talk to me. Then we have price premium. What is the association with the brand is super premium. We have a Mercedes-Benz car or Rolls-Royce car. There the association is premium cars. Okay, Rolex. So association is about a high price. Then we have use specific association. What is use specific associations? Whenever you have that particular use only, we use that brand. You can take Dettol. Dettol actually started as an antiseptic soap. So whenever you have something, if you're hurt or you're, now they're trying cleverly, like we were mentioning earlier, to brand extend it, but predominantly the association of Dettol has been as a antiseptic. Sometimes we have user specific association also. What is user specific association is, whenever the user wants that particular let's say utility, we think of that particular brand. Whenever a customer wants a fast delivery, where does he go? Where does he go when a customer wants a fast delivery? He goes for a speed post. So he doesn't go for a regular post. The speed post association is with speed. Then we have celebrity association. This is very, very interesting in the sense that celebrities get attached to some products. If you take Navavav Patodi, he is associated with let's say some particular brand of popular shooting. So this is what we call as a celebrity association. Then we have lifestyle association. What is usually cigarette manufacturers and this alcohol manufacturers, they go in for a lifestyle association where the lifestyle is shown to be very, very glamorous. Then finally we have product class association where the product almost becomes synonymous with the what is a generic, the brand becomes generic to the product. We are talking of examples like Xerox or Dalda. So associations are very, very important. The better association you have with the customer, he feels more happy buying your product.
Okay. So is it true that the quality of the brand does affects the overall brand equity?
You said quality. I would define it a little further and say perceived quality. See, all car manufacturers have almost the same standards of quality, but what is perceived by the customers is very, very important. So most customers perceive Volvo to have better quality. So most people take manufacturing quality and perceived quality as the same. Now manufacturing quality can be measured by standards, ISO standards or whatever other type of standards, but perceived quality is what lies in the mind of a customer. So is a customer pursuing quality? Okay, if he can perceive quality, nothing like it. It might be little less than manufacturing quality also. So Volvo might have the same quality, Maruti 800 or any of the other cars might have the same quality, but the customers perceive that Volvo has got better quality. That is what finally matters. So perceived quality is very closely connected with your positioning. So if your customers perceive quality, that's wonderful.
Anil, what is the future of this brand equity?
The future in fact depends on brand equity. See, what happens is, this has been a very theoretical discussion, but what is happening is now brand equity has become very important. Recently we had an example of this Rice Tech. Rice Tech is a rice grower in California. What is happening is, India was predominantly known as a basmati manufacturing company, but Rice Tech wanted to, in fact it has patented some of the basmati grains onto him. The Indian government then went on to say no, basmati belongs to India, and we had to fight a very costly and well drawn out battle. So the future is all about brand equity, and whoever manages a brand better will finally come out as a winner.
Thank you, Mr. Anil, for giving us such a nice enlightenment regarding this brand equity.
Thank you very much.
ఈ కార్యక్రమాలపై మీ అభిప్రాయాల్ని, సూచనల్ని, సలహాల్ని ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. మా చిరునామా ద డైరెక్టర్, ఆడియో విజువల్ ప్రొడక్షన్ అండ్ రీసెర్చ్ సెంటర్, డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ, ప్రొఫెసర్ జి రామరెడ్డి మార్గ్, రోడ్ నంబర్ 46, జూబ్లీ హిల్స్, హైదరాబాద్ 500033.